Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Chin-Quee Chats, the bitesized podcast where we talk movies, sports, and everything in between. I am your host, Matthew Chin-Quee, and this week we are in full Oscar season. The Oscar nominations have just come out as of Tuesday morning, and one thing I can't believe is that people in Hollywood are getting up for 5:30. I mean, they're presenting at 5:30, which means they got to go through, hair and makeup or whatever, because they're Hollywood people. So they're probably up at like 4 or 3 even to present these awards, which I think is a little bit ludicrous, because who on the East Coast really wants to get up at 8:30 on a Tuesday anyways and watch the Oscar nominations? Most people are at work or at school. So that's something that always baffled me. But anyways, it is Oscar season. So this week I wanted to do a recap. Well, not a recap, a kind of my analysis, if you could say. That makes it sound a lot more fancier than I planned to do it. But my analysis on the big 6 categories or so. Just some of the bigger categories of what people tend to pay attention to. So I want to go through those and then kind of predict my winners and then talk about the categories a little bit, how strong I think it is, and so on. And then in the free chat segment, I'm going to try something a little bit new. I've done news for movies before, but I haven't really done news in the free chat segment. So obviously I'm going to talk about NBA. We're in full swing right now. I would love to talk about baseball, but there really isn't too much going around. There's been a few trades, and I don't really have another subject to talk about in free chat right now. Nothing's really captured my mind. I've been kind of busy lately as well, which is why I'm actually recording this the day of. So this is going to go up immediately after I finish. And also no guest because busy. But next week I'm going to try to have a guest on, and it may or may not be Oscar related again. I think I'm going to do I'm not going to talk about snubs this week. I think next week I'm going to save that, and then the plan is to have a guest next week to help me with that. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the cinema chat. All right, let's get the first one out of the way. The biggest category that everybody loves to wait for. And I'm not going to be like the Oscars. I'm not going to present every single Best Picture nomination or nominee throughout my entire show, because that would take forever. So starting with Best Picture, our nominations are Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, out of these 9, I will probably say that either Get Out, 3 Billboards, or Call Me by Your Name are my personal favorites. But honestly, this is a pretty good category this year. And if you guys want to go back to my episode with Dan a couple weeks ago, where we counted down our top 10, it has a lot of overlap. Now, since then, I've seen since recording that, I've seen Phantom Thread and Darkest Hour. I have not seen The Post yet. That is the only Best Picture nominee I haven't watched yet. But it is Spielberg and Streep and Hanks. So what I'm assuming it's going to be is it can't not be good, but I don't know if it's going to be great, seeing how Spielberg has been the last few years. We talked about that. RB3 and I talked about that a little bit last episode. But yeah, out of the 3 or out of the 9, my favorite is probably going to be Call Me by Your Name, Get Out, or 3 Billboards. And honestly, I'm really happy that Get Out got a nomination. I saw it going 2 ways. Going into the nominees, I saw it. They give it because a lot of people were anticipating them to give Get Out the award. It's because this whole diversity thing, and Get Out has been it's been part of the zeitgeist. I'm pretty sure I'm using that word correctly. I'm not actually sure. I've never actually used that word before, but it's been huge in popular culture. Like in February, it was blowing up, and people have been talking about it, and a lot of general audiences are talking about it, and Oscars have been looking for, I think, to kind of get back into the audience sides in a public way. Last year, they got in the public eye in a very wrong way, I think. So nominating Get Out is it might be a course correction, or they may have just thought that it is a really good film, but knowing the Academy, I'm not sure, because they did nominate Darkest Hour, which is, in my opinion, very, very beat for beat Oscar bait film. Gary Oldman is great, and I'll get to that when we get to the best actor category. But I've seen The Darkest Hour before. I've seen it in Theory of Everything. I've seen it in what was the one with Alan Turing and Benedict Cumberbatch? I don't remember the name of that one. The Imitation Game. There we go. I've seen it with The Danger Girl. They're all the same biopic movie. The actor goes, they get some prosthetics or they get makeup, and then they do this over dramatic, they have these monologues and really dramatic moments where they're like shouting and screaming or just tears coming down their face. And I've seen it before. That doesn't mean it's bad, because Darkest Hour, I mean, if you're nominated for Best Picture, you're generally not a bad movie at all. And Darkest Hour certainly isn't a bad movie, but I've seen it before. I wish that the Oscars would go someplace a little more out of the box, like Blade Runner 2049, but we'll get to that next week. So my prediction for Best Picture is, I believe The Shape of Water is going to win. That has a lot of momentum behind it, I think. Not that the Golden Globes are an indicator at all, but from like the SAG Awards and the Critics' Choice Awards, and just general buzz, I think a lot of people are buzzing about Shape of Water, which is something that I can live with. I can get on board with it winning, even though I didn't love the film as much as I wanted to. But it's either that or Three Billboards, maybe. I don't see Call Me By Your Name winning again, because Moonlight won last year, and unfortunately I feel like people are just going to say, oh, it's another gay movie, so we don't want it to win this year. So even though they're two very, very different movies. So I really see it as Shape of Water, Three Billboards, or maybe Lady Bird. I don't think the others really have a chance. Oh, okay. Now going into Best Director now, we have Chris Nolan finally gets his first nomination at the Oscars. I believe it's his first, but he gets a nomination. Jordan Peele for Get Out, which is incredible for him. Greta Gerwig, incredible for her, another first-timer. PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, and Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. I see this category as really a one-horse race. I think it's Guillermo's to lose. He's been winning everything. Honestly, Shape of Water, again, wasn't my favorite, and I think the best directed out of all these is either Dunkirk or Phantom Thread. And for those who haven't seen Phantom Thread, my friend Roman, he pointed this out to me. He's like, it's a perfect mix between the Before trilogy, a romantic trilogy, the trilogy that's really focused in on the characters, character development, a very character-driven movie, and and Gone Girl, which is a haunting thriller and almost horror, a human horror, I would describe it as, and that perfectly describes Phantom Thread, the love child between those two, because it is the most disturbing love story that you will ever watch on screen until, I don't know, maybe PTA makes another movie, or Aronofsky makes a movie, maybe that. Aronofsky tries out his hand in romance, although I guess you could say Mother is kind of that, but I think it's between Guillermo del Toro and Guillermo del Toro. I think it's his to lose, just judging from all the buzz. I don't think Jordan Peele or Greta Gerwig really have a chance with this. They're first timers, and the Academy, they can be sticklers with that. They want someone who has an established name, right? And Guillermo has been there with Pan's Labyrinth before. Although Chris Nolan did do something really special with Dunkirk. That's probably one of the best directed films this year, in my opinion. I mean, just his technical prowess alone really qualifies Nolan to win that. But I don't know if the Academy hasn't really given love to Nolan in the past. Dark Knight, for Prestige, for Inception. He hasn't gotten much love as a director. So I don't really see it going his way unless it's a course correction. Moving on to Best Actor, we have Timothée Chalamet, I think, Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Kaluuya, Gary Oldman, and Denzel. Denzel should not be here, I think, and we're going to get into a debate about the sexual harassment issues within Hollywood and whether James Franco deserved a nomination, which I believe he did, because if you watch Disaster Artist and you watch James Franco, you're not watching James Franco, you're watching Tommy Wiseau. And a lot of people have said, oh, he's just doing an impression. But when I watch the movie, if the impression is so good that I truly believe that Franco was Wiseau in the film, to the point where I actually felt kind of bad, the fact that the entire movie seemed to be making fun of him, I think that's a job well done. Even if it is just an impression, it's a great impression. So I don't see why that's really an argument. So I really think Franco should have been up there instead of Washington. Although I haven't seen Roman J. Israel Esquire. But from what I've heard, it's nothing really special, and Washington's kind of getting the street treatment, which we'll get to in Best Actress because she got nominated again. She's getting the street treatment where he is getting the street treatment where he's Denzel Washington. Of course, you're going to nominate him, right? He's one of the greatest actors of all time. Although you could say that for Hanks too, and Hanks didn't get nominated for The Post. So, anyways, for this one, this is probably between Gary Oldman and Chalamet. Oldman, like I said, in Darkest Hour, wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, but he is fantastic. He transforms into Winston Churchill, from the accent. And I'm not someone who's really well versed in Churchill at all. But when I was watching the movie, I came back and I watched clips of the real Churchill, and he really embodies him. The makeup and prosthetics there are a little bit off, and you can actually see Oldman through the makeup when you realize what Winston Churchill actually looks like when you really compare them. But the dialect, not the dialect, the way he talks and the way he acts and his mannerisms, they are very similar, and it takes a masterful actor such as Gary Oldman to do this. And I believe it's his first nomination, or maybe it's not. And if it isn't his first nomination, it is his. It should be his first win, if not just for a legacy award. If not just for the Academy awarding him for all these years of being a profoundly incredible actor, from his roles in the big action franchises like The Dark Knight or Harry Potter, or from his more dramatic ones like in Leon the Professional, which I'm also, again, not the biggest fan of the movie, but he is incredible in that, and Gary Oldman is one of the best out there, and it's a shame that he hasn't won an Oscar yet. So I think this is going to be the year where they kind of make it up for it. I could also see it going to Chalamet because he is also incredible in Call Me By Your Name, and he's had a great year with that. We've seen this happen before in the Oscars where they kind of award them for the year they're having, and he's also been in Lady Bird as well, although that is a much smaller role and he doesn't have as much to do, but still this is a year of the Timothy, and he is fantastic in Call Me By Your Name for such a young actor to kind of portray the emotions and kind of have that depth to understand the depth to his character, and portray it in a way that seems like he has so much experience in the world. I think it's awesome what he did in that film. So I still think it's going to go to Oldman, but it could be an upset with Timothy, and I don't think the rest really have a chance. I'm really happy to see Kaluuya in there, though. I think he actually did deserve to be in there, if not just for the hypnotizing scene alone in Get Out. Now, moving on to Best Actress, we have Sally Hawkins, Frances McDormand, Margot Robbie, Saoirse Ronan, and Meryl Streep. This is a category that, although I do see a frontrunner, I also see it as being very... as also being a really competitive a really competitive strategy. Competitive. I'm thinking of school right now. We hear competitive strategy all the time in my marketing classes, as being a very, very competitive category. So I think that the front runner is either Frances McDormand or Sally Hawkins, because Frances McDormand, I'm not sure if she's won before, but she also is. She's a darling in the community. I mean, she's been acting with the Coens for years. Everybody loves her. And Sally Hawkins, again, is that Shape of the Water buzz that. I just have this feeling in my gut that the Shape of Water is really going to clean up these awards. Now that lawsuit, that plagiarism lawsuit could be going against it. I'm not, maybe, but I don't think it's picked up enough steam, honestly. But then again, that's what I thought about the James Franco allegations. So who knows? It could affect The Shape of Water. But the other four in the category, including Meryl Streep, because I do have my issues with Meryl Streep being nominated last year, and I can't say she deserves to be here this year. I haven't seen the post, but. And off the top of my head, I can't think of someone who would replace her on like the Best Actor category. So maybe she does actually deserve to be here. But Robbie was absolutely phenomenal in I, Tonya. She really went above and beyond what I thought her capable of doing. The courtroom scene alone, when she's trying to plead her innocence, or not plead her innocence, but kind of fight back from being banned for life from the world of skating. That's some touching stuff, and that's some really heavy stuff that I didn't think that Robbie was at all capable of. So hats off to her, and I'm really happy that she got a nomination. And I absolutely would not be surprised if she won, although I don't see it happening. And then Saoirse Ronan, she's been good for years. She's been incredible since Atonement. I mean, she is. I think she's poised to be the next Meryl Streep just because of how long she's been acting and how many award-winning and critically acclaimed performances she's had since she was a child. I mean, you have she's in The Lovely Bone. She was in Hannah, I believe. She was in Grand Budapest Hotel. 2 years ago, she was nominated for Brooklyn. I mean, she is just a powerhouse, and she's a year older than me, right? What am I doing with my life? I'm sitting and talking to a mic. Yeah, her and Lady Bird is equally phenomenal in very different ways. All of these actresses, minus Streep, because I haven't seen her performances, they all blew me away. And when I was each time I was watching their film, I was like, wow, I can point to a moment right there where that is award winning. Like, she deserves to win for this. So the Best Actress category, in my opinion, is probably the most competitive out of all the big six this year. Maybe Best Supporting Actor, and we'll get there. But for now, frontrunner, I see McDormand or Hawkins winning, but I would not at all be surprised if Robbie or Ronan get in there. And hell, maybe even Streep. We'll see how I feel after I watch the post. Best Supporting Actor, running out of time. Willem Dafoe, Woody Harrelson, Richard Jenkins, Christopher Plummer, and Sam Rockwell. This one is also tough. I don't see, if I could cross names off here off the top, I think you can cross out Woody Harrelson because, spoilers, he's only really in like half the movie in 3 Billboards. So I think you can cross him out. Plummer, the only reason I see him being nominated, and I also haven't seen his movie yet, and I really do want to because I got to support my Canadian dude, and gotta give a middle finger to Kevin Spacey, which is the only reason why I can see him winning, as just a big fuck you to the Academy. So I don't really see him winning either. And then Richard Jenkins, he was fine in The Shape of Water. I don't think he had really enough to do or had enough emotional he didn't have enough dramatic weight to the character, in my opinion, to even garner a Best Supporting Actor nomination. I would have given it to the guy in Get Out, or the dad in Get Out, or even the son in Get Out. He was incredible. Or Harrison Ford in Blade Runner 2049. Trying to think of other ones. Mark Rylance and Dunkirk, something like that. Someone like that. I don't really think Richard Jenkins deserved to be there, but you have that LGBT representation, which is great. So I discount him, though. I don't really see him winning. So like most people, I think it's a two-horse race between Dafoe and Rockwell. Both were some of my favorite performances last year. Dafoe turns into the friend. He delivers quite a wholesome and real performance. You really felt like his character, as opposed to Sam Rockwell's, who's in a black comedy, and that's a little bit over the top sometimes. Dafoe is very grounded, and it's. I mean, the Florida Project, I've talked about it before. It is so slice of life. It really just takes a moment in time in the shittiest hotel in Florida, and really focuses on how good of a person and how real Willem Dafoe's character was, Bobby in Florida Project. And he was actually very surprisingly funny and menacing at times. He's still got that Green Goblin in there if you really need him to be. But then Sam Rockwell, his character Jason Dixon in Three Billboards had one of the best character arcs of the entire year. I went into the movie. At the beginning of the movie, I hated him, and that's the mark of a good actor, because I like Sam Rockwell. I loved him in Moon. Let's not talk about the time he was in the MCU, but I loved him in Moon, and I absolutely hated his character at the beginning of the movie, and then you start to grow to love him and start to like him and understand where he's at, and that also is a mark of a great actor. So honestly, I could flip a coin to decide who wins this category. It's that close for me. I honestly cannot decide. I'll say Dafoe for now, just because I want the Florida Project to get love, and yes, it should have been nominated for Best Picture. I want the Florida Project to get love. Anyways, Best Supporting Actress, Mary J. Blige for Mudbound. I actually haven't seen that movie. Allison Janney, Leslie Manville, Laurie Metcalf, and Octavia Spencer. I think I want to cross out two people off the top, Spencer and Blige. It's unfair to Blige because I haven't seen Mudbound yet, and I heard it's a really great movie. But Spencer, when I was watching The Shape of Water, and Octavia Spencer is incredible. She's a fantastic actress. I really didn't get much from her. I felt that she was there mostly for comic relief, and at times she was really funny. But last year, I think she was much better in Hidden Figures, in my opinion. She had a lot more depth to the character, whereas in Shape of Water, she's very surface level. She's just, she's that strong, best friend character, who's supportive to Sally Hawkins' character the entire way, and then cracks jokes when they're doing something wrong. We've seen it before, right? We've seen it before, and I don't really think she deserved to be there. I really think that Ana de Armas could have been nominated for Blade Runner 2049, or even the chick in Florida Project, the one who plays Haley, the mom, the Canadian chick, forget her name, but she is incredible in Florida Project. You notice how I'm kind of pushing Florida Project and Blade Runner 2049 because I believe that they're biggest snubs. We'll get to that next week. I really think it is Laurie Metcalf or Allison Janney to lose. Leslie Manville, I also don't think really deserved to be nominated as well. I thought that the lead actress, I guess you could put her into the Best Actress category, so maybe she could replace Streep from Phantom Thread, was absolutely breathtaking. I've never seen her before, and she really, the film is hers. The film is not Daniel Day-Lewis's. It is Alma's character, or the character of Alma's film. It really is hers, and I think that she deserved a nomination. Leslie Manville, she was fine in the movie, but she didn't really blow me away. Allison Janney and Laurie Metcalf, however, really did blow me away. Janney is, much like Sam Rockwell, a little bit more cartoonish, a little bit funnier, a little bit more absurd, while Laurie Metcalf, like Willem Dafoe, is very serious and relatable and very real, and a lot of people saw their own mothers in it, and honestly I kind of did too, which it was a little overwhelming at first, if I'll be honest, implying I haven't been honest this entire time. It's another two-horse race, I think, but I think this one I'd lean a little bit towards more Metcalf, just because it's a little bit more serious, and it's not I, Tonya, I See as dramedy, and the Academy and comedies. So, those odds are against her. But anyways, Those are the 6 major categories: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Supporting Actress. I could go on about every single category, and perhaps I'll tackle them in the weeks coming up to the Oscars. I might do some more of the technical categories. But yeah, once the nominations actually come out, I'll probably write up something, an official predictions list. But for now, those are my predictions, and for now, I'm gonna take a quick break and then get back into the free chat. And we are back for the free chat segment, and this is something that I'm actually really morbidly excited, I guess, to talk about, because I haven't really tackled news in the world of sports before. And yes, I won't only be talking about basketball. That sentence doesn't make any sense. I will be talking about stuff other than basketball if I'm talking about sports, because the Olympics are coming up and I'm really excited for those. So I might do, a weekly recap of how I think Canada is doing, obviously Canada, and then, the evil United States stealing all our golds. I'll talk about them, but the Olympics start on the 9th, I think, so I'm really excited for that to start. So I will be talking about that definitely in the free chat, but for now, gotta stick with stuff I know, right? Gotta stick with stuff I love. That's, I guess, why you're tuning into this podcast, because, I have that passion for what I'm talking about. The NBA, this has been a horrible injury season, man. I mean, a couple months ago, I had talked, I think I was talking with Josh about some of the injuries to, Jeremy Lin and Gordon Hayward. I almost said Al Horford, which is completely wrong, but Gordon Hayward. And then you have injuries to like Paul Millsap and Kawhi Leonard, who has been on and off this entire season, which is just a shame. And some people, I mean, this could just be the media stirring up attention. Some people are comparing it to Derrick Rose, how this could be the beginning of the end, but I don't really see it as that. I think Kawhi will bounce back. I mean, Joel Embiid was out for like 3 years, and Ben Simmons was out for last year, and they're both tearing it up right now. They're both almost all-stars. I mean, Embiid is an all-star, but that just might be everybody voting for him. Hell, I voted for him because I love Embiid. Yeah, let's start with some news. The biggest one probably being that we lost DeMarcus Cousins to an injury. Yeah, you thought that sounded a lot like he died, but he is probably perfectly alive, but he is definitely not healthy. He went down hard the other day with an Achilles tendon, I think it's called. He tore it, and that's the same thing that happened to I believe that's the same injury that happened to Derrick Rose. So a lot of going back to the Derrick Rose comparisons, a lot of people are afraid, including myself, that Boogie being a big man, and for those who don't know, DeMarcus Cousins' nickname is Boogie. I don't know why, that's just the way it is, but Boogie being a big man, a lot of big men rely on their athleticism, and a lot of big men rely on their size, and a lot of that, relies heavily on your muscles working the way they are. And if your Achilles is torn and it never really recovers fully, I mean, the guy's only 29, I think. 28, 29. He was in the prime of his career, or maybe a little bit past prime, but he was tearing up. They were poised to make the playoffs for the first time. Him and Anthony Davis, the new Twin Towers, they really could have given someone like the Warriors a run for their money. And it's really unfortunate that he got injured, and especially in the way he did. There was a minute left in the game. They were up by 5. Yes, of course you keep him in, but risking an injury like that, it may make some coaches think twice, especially if you're confident in your ability to make the playoffs. Maybe save some of your stars and don't risk this, because it seems the injury gods have been plaguing the NBA this season. So prayers up to DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins. Hopefully he can recover from this. He he's definitely out for the year. I think the estimated recovery schedule is like 10 months, something like that. So hopefully he can come back, bounce back next season, and be the player he once was. We've seen a lot of players bounce back really quickly before. PG when he broke his leg, Hayward when he broke his ankle. Hayward is out here shooting right now. But then again, those are broken stuff. I'm not a doctor, so I can't speak to the effect to. I can't speak about how these injuries heal, but from what I've seen in the NBA, from what I've seen from injury recoveries, a torn muscle or something like that, a torn Achilles, that's a lot harder to heal back than just a broken leg. And then the other day we had Andre Robertson, the defensive specialist who can't shoot worth a shit on that was rude. I shouldn't have said that because he's injured. On the Thunder, and this is a guy who is a defensive player of the year candidate every year. He's first all-team defense. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he goes down. And I've seen the stats for the Thunder when Robertson isn't on the floor, when Robertson isn't on the defensive unit, and it is atrocious. Of course they have Paul George, who again is another defensive player of the year candidate, but you're going to need to, especially when you're in the West, especially if you're going to try to contend against the Warriors, you need at least 2 elite defenders. And this may have ruined the Thunder's season, and that is really awful because this might be their only window. Who knows where Paul George is going to be next year? He very well may re-sign with the Thunder. I was listening to the Watch Pod the other day. For those who don't know, Adrian Wojnarowski, he's the premier NBA reporter. He knows all the guys. He if you guys have seen Game of Thrones, and you guys know that Varys character, the big fat bald guy who has his quote unquote little birds, he knows and hears everything. That's Woj. That's Woj in the NBA. He knows and hears everything. He knows about trades before they happen. Somehow he knows. And his podcast is also incredible. And I was listening to that, and he made a really good point that Paul George, if he goes to the Lakers, something like that, the only thing he can do to cement his legacy is win a championship, because that's all Lakers fans expect, because they come from a culture of winning. And right now, that Lakers team is nowhere near close. Even if they have Paul George, even if they have LeBron on top of that, they're nowhere near close to winning a championship. So I'm not sure if he actually goes there. He might re-sign with the Thunder. Not sure what their salary cap situation is like, but regardless of that, looking at it right now, the Thunder are in a really tight spot. They are in, I believe they're 5th in the East, but they've been surging. They're one of the hottest teams right now. They started off really slow at the beginning of the year. Some people thought that this experiment was going to work. You have 3 very ball dominant superstars or all-stars with Westbrook, Anthony, and Paul George, but they seem to have worked together now. And then along with Steven Adams, who's probably having one of his best seasons, and then Andre Robertson, he is probably one of the best lockdown defenders, and he goes down in a different situation than with Boogie. It was honestly just a freak accident. It looked like he slipped on the floor when he jumped up. Westbrook threw an alley-oop, and Robertson went to go receive it, and his leg just went down. He's now confirmed to be out for the season. He's going to go under surgery. He has a ruptured patellar tendon, which I don't really know what that means, but I'm assuming it's something really bad in your leg. So prayers up to him too. Injuries suck, no matter how much I dislike certain teams, and I don't even dislike the Thunder. I really like the Thunder, actually, and I really like the Pelicans, and I really like Boogie. Like, Boogie's one of my favorite my favorite characters. He's one of my favorite players. And Robertson, I like to make fun of his 3-point shooting, and I like to make fun of his free throws, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's really sad to see someone who's worked that hard. And a lot of these people have worked really hard. They've gone through so much shit to get where they are, and to play the game that they love. And it really sucks that this could affect their entire careers, and this could mean the end for their career as they know it. I'm sure both of them will bounce back, but who knows if they'll be the same type of player. So, praying for their quick recovery, and then we'll have to see what each of these teams do, because the Pelicans and the Thunder are both in a tight spot now, losing two of their key pieces. We don't know where this will go from here. On a lighter note, I guess, looking for other news. They just had a Warriors-Celtics game, and Warriors won, thank God, because my Raptors are really chasing that Celtics for number 1 seed, and I really want to get it. Oh, I know what we can talk about. The Cavs. I don't know what's going on with this team. Who knew that Kyrie Irving may have been the gel that kept the whole damn team together? Because as soon as he left, you have Isaiah Thomas, who, honestly, he seems like a decent guy, but I don't like him as a player. I don't like his style. I don't think he's good at all. I mean, obviously he can score. He has the potential to score, because he hasn't been scoring well this season. But he can't play defense. He's 5'9". He's as tall as me. He's up against, people 7-footers who can run as probably more coordinated than I can. So imagine how that's going to go on defense. He can try his hardest. He can be the most athletic, but he's still going to get bowled over on defense. And that's the Cavs' biggest problem right now. They lost Irving, who, he's not a great defender, but he's certainly big enough to try to hold his own. I'd take Kyrie in a defensive situation over IT any day. And then, apparently there's rumors of the players getting mad at IT for his shot selection, and then there's players getting mad at LeBron for, holding the ball too much, slowing the game down too much. And then there's this whole Kevin Love debacle where they apparently blamed him for sitting out a game because he was sick, which I think is some stupid ass shit, because Kevin Love has been one of your best players this season. He has been trying. He visibly is trying when he's on the court. He's not like, Shumpert or J.R. Smith, who I don't like their play style at all either. I think J.R. is he's not a good player. And that makes me really sad, because when they won the other year, he had that press conference where he was like crying and talking about how, how appreciative of his parents and how it hurts when people talk shit about him. But, I also don't want to baby anybody, and I'm sure JR isn't listening to this, so it doesn't even matter anyways, but I don't think he belongs in the starting lineup. Neither does Tristan Thompson, in my opinion, and I gotta support a Canadian kid, but he has a Kardashian curse. He's not good. But then again, it is the Cavs in the regular season. We've seen this happen before. We haven't seen it to this extent where it seems like the entire team just hates each other in the locker room. Again, it could be the media, but we haven't seen it to this extent. But they have bounced back from something like this before, and then made it to the finals inevitably. But I'm really hoping that this year we get something different. I'm really hoping that it's not a Warriors Cavs final, and I really don't want it to be Warriors Celtics either. I'm really, fingers crossed. I think my Raptors can give the Warriors a run for their money. The 2 times we lost to them this season, they've been really close games, and I think it would be a really competitive series. Hopefully, the way we've been playing, the Raptors have been playing in the regular season, that translates well to the playoffs, because we still haven't proven ourselves in the playoffs to a lot of the media. And that's why we're not getting the respect. But, yeah, I ended that on probably a little bit more positive note, making fun of the Cavs, which is always very, very fun. So anyways, that just about concludes this episode, this solo episode. It was actually kind of really refreshing to talk for this long and, be so passionate about the NBA and the Oscars for so long. I'm really happy with the way this turned out, which means probably when I listen back on it, I'm probably not going to like it. But anyways, I'm rambling. If you guys made it all the way to the end of this episode, thank you for listening again. Chin-Quee Chats is available on all your podcasting platforms, iTunes, Spotify. I really like to promote that Spotify because it's pretty much the easiest. Google Play. It's on YouTube if you want. I believe it is on Stitcher as well. I don't really check Stitcher as much because I don't think many people use it. I'm gonna try to get it on every single platform imaginable. So wherever you're listening, thank you. Subscribe or give a review. If you're on iTunes, give it a 5-star review, so we can get a little bit more exposure. I cannot talk. So that seems like a good place to end it. I will chat with you guys next week.
This is very unfortunate what happened. Personally, I blame Steve Harvey for this. Personally, I blame Steve Harvey for this.
I'm truly sorry,